dear colleagues, dear participants of the session today. We are very happy on behalf of Eden Digital Learning Europe to open the 8th week of European Open and Digital Learning Week in Europe this year. That actually is organized with a very extended partnership of global organizations. We started in 2016 with a partnership of United States Distance Learning Association as the initiatives of this week, holding National Distance Learning Week in the States and then in Europe by Eden. I had the pleasure then chairing Eden Executive Committee as the president of the organization. And I'm so happy to see that the week expanded, and this year we organize this week together with a partnership with Coimbra Group, Education Innovation and Doctoral Studies Working Groups, a United States Distance Learning Association as our long-term partner, Flexible Learning Association of New Zealand, Open and Distance Learning Association of Australia, and they joined efforts to offer the Asia Pacific Online and Distance Education Week as well. So this week is to celebrate the different innovations that we continue in online learning since decades. And also, of course, the challenges that come and review our practices from time to time. This week will be a good time for us to discuss, to exchange, to share practices in open and online and distance education, to get new ideas, to establish and expand our networks, to invite new members for our collaboration. And for this purpose, we offer daily online webinars as every year and panel sessions of experts, scholars, and practitioners who will present best practices and expertise in online and distance learning, and will discuss the challenges of today's and future education. We will have daily webinars, but sometimes we will have 2 events per day. Like today, we have the first and opening event of this week, AI and the Future of Adult Education and VET, and Well-being, Heritage and Higher Education Learning that will happen later today in the afternoon of Central European Time. On Tuesday, we will have 1 event dedicated to transparent assessment of online learning leading to micro-credentials. On Wednesday, we will have digital transformation in higher education, and we will discuss how it affects teaching and learning activities, and analysis from different world regions will be represented in this event. On Thursday, we will dedicate 1 event for open educational resources for collaborative online and distance education and exchange. And the second event will be on renewable assignments, current practices in higher education. Finally, Friday, we'll offer 2 events as well. E-learning competencies for instructional designers and course with micro-credentials, and design thinking and emerging technologies at schools across Europe, reflections on the first year of implementation of extended tool. I would like to remind you that each event will be recorded, and the recordings will be available on the Eden Digital Learning Europe website after the week. And of course, we invite you to review all European Open and Distance Learning Week's previous sessions started since 2016. So now I have the pleasure to open this week with the probably most challenging developments in our daily lives today, focusing on AI and the future of adult education and VET. And it is my great pleasure to invite AI Pioneers team to further lead and present in this event. Please, Graham, the floor is yours to introduce the aim of the event and to lead on.
Thank you. I'm just going to share my screen. I'm hopefully going to share the right screen. It is. Yeah. Okay. The participants can now see my screen. Is that right?
Yes.
It's a bit weird here. It's a bit weird, but we
Yes.
overcome this because I can't see my screen, which is interesting. Oh dear. Okay. Okay, we're going to manage this okay somehow. It's not on Zoom, so you are seeing a screen which says in the future of adult education and vet, I hope.
Yes, if you could make it full screen, then I think it would be
certainly
perfect.
can try. I certainly can try. And you'll see it full screen now?
Yes, only the slides on your left side are still, you know, with a preview. So play would help, I believe. Play. Play on top on.
Yes, yes. I'm going to play. Thank you. Ah, it just shows you there's always something to go wrong. But I hope you're seeing it properly now. It's my absolute pleasure to moderate this session with my colleagues from the AI Pioneers project. AI Pioneers is a Erasmus Plus large-scale project which started in January this year and goes on for 3 years. In this session, I'm going to do a general introduction to the issue of AI. And that's not easy because there's so much to say. General introduction, my gosh. Then Ana Dias from TechMino in Portugal is going to introduce the European Reference Network of AI Pioneers, which is the central aim of the project. Angela Corrado from Pontedusky, my organization, is going to talk about new skills and competencies for teachers and trainers in the use of AI. And then Luca Deitmer and Ivan Dirch from the Institut Technikum Bildung at the University of Bremen in Germany are going to be looking at actual examples of best practices in using AI in vocational education training. Now, we've been told strictly we're to take 15 minutes each only, and it's very difficult to deal with AI in 15 minutes. And that should leave some time. I'm going to ask if people can use the chat to add their comments and questions. And we hope to have at the end at least 15 minutes for you to ask questions and add your comments to it. Okay. So I'm going to start now. I'm timing myself here. It's 11:08. So I'm talking about the future of adult education and vet. And I think that this is the big question for AI. It's not that AI is a mature technology which has come in. It's that AI is just at its beginning. But anyway, it's 100% human authored, and I'll talk more about that. In my presentation, you will not see any picture of a robot. You will not see any picture which is generated by generative AI and gives an abstract network of nodes linking to each other. I'm tired of those. What you are going to see is pictures of people working with technology, and many of them working with AI. And those pictures are not from North America and not from the UK. Those pictures, each picture is showing someone working, and it's pictures drawn from a collection by UNESCO Univoc, and I'll give details at the end if you want to get the pictures yourself, of people all over the world. And I think that's very important that we keep that in mind of not limiting ourselves to just North Europe. I think one of the big things going on at the moment is a realization that AI may be fundamentally changing education, fundamentally changing. And at this point, I remember back, one advantage of age is I remember back traveling very excitedly to the Open University in the Netherlands, where they showed me something they thought was going to change the future of education. It was called the World Wide Web. And we were very excited after the hour it took them to get it up. So this is going to be big changes. Now, look, previously we've been using AI tools. AI is not new. AI is not new at all. We've been using it for years. It's in our phones, come on. But the new AI cognitive tools aren't just solutions to automate existing practice, existing work practice, existing education practice. They're completely challenging how we understand what learning means and how it occurs, challenging a whole idea about what learning is. So, I mean, that's the size of the impact. And of course, machine learning technologies, methodologies will dramatically influence occupational structures and content, dramatically. Almost every occupation is going to be challenged by this. And of course, that's going to change what people learn, but it's also a challenge to vocational education training in terms of curriculum. Much of what's taught in vocational schools today may well be obsolete or require significant modifications. And, and this is the really tricky one, the skills and knowledge from our programs in vocational education and training may become irrelevant in just 5 years. So how do we respond to that? And that's the central questions I'm trying to look at this morning. It's not just changing what we learn, but of course it's changing how we learn. And that has a big influence on pedagogy. It's the fact that we're merging online learning, inevitably merging mobile learning with face-to-face learning. And I think the big challenge will become, once we get the next generation of mobile devices, will be linking the practice, linking practice to objects. And that is a fundamental issue. I'll talk a bit more about that one in a moment. But we've also got human-computer mediated interaction. And that human-computer mediated interaction is going to require new learning, critically requiring new learning, how we work with machines in a different way than we had before. But it's also affecting how we manage knowledge. I suppose lately we've been managing knowledge by using Google search. It's a pretty crude tool for knowledge management. But of course, within organizations, they have the challenge of managing their own knowledge, but of also managing the link between knowledge innovation, research and innovation, changing work practices, and that formal representation of knowledge. And that's going to change, and that's being challenged. Now, look, in higher education, and of course, the whole debate over AI has been dominated by higher education. There's a big fear, a big fuss in November, December, January. Oh my God, it's the end of the world because our exams we can't do like we used to. Because look, this is a real problem. These computers, this generative AI, can write exams. Now, there's two things to say about that. They're slowly realizing it's not the end of the world, and they're having to change assessment practice, which they should have changed years ago. It's been a lazy thing to set these exams, which computers can go. But vocational education has a big advantage because it's already gone through big changes, the whole movement towards competencies, the movement to hands-on and concrete, focusing not on abstract knowledge, but on the tangible skills and real world applications. So it's about doing, making, creating. That's what vocational education. And incidentally, I love all the pictures in this, but this one, I especially like the picture of them peeling the peppers. I think that's wonderful. And it's a wonderful illustration of what doing, making, and creating is about in vocational education and training. So look, yes, this is what I talked about earlier. Generative AI has the potential to integrate the concrete world with the abstract, linking those two together, linking together the abstract real realm of digital information. So the concrete world and digital information are not separate anymore. Real world objects and practical training exercises can be complemented by augmented and virtual reality environments powered by AI. So we're moving all that, and I expect this sort of environment in this picture can be integrated into a virtual reality environment relatively easily, and I'd expect it to happen. And of course, we can produce models and learning materials, which we've been able to do for augmented. My feeling is actually augmented reality is going to be bigger than virtual reality, but that's just my speculation. We've been able to produce them for some time, but they've been extremely expensive. And the reality is that they're going to be cheap and relatively easy to produce learning materials which are based on real world practice, which changes the whole future of vocational education and training. Now, look, I also think we have to talk about this word competence, because although competence, the move to competence allowed authentic assessment, the word competence has always traditionally put the pressure on the individual. So we've been doing a deficit model. This is the skills you're supposed to have. We'll measure you and see if you've got the skills, and we'll give you the training to get those competencies. But in the last few years, we've been increasingly recognizing there's something beyond just pure vocational competence, but behavioral competence, aptitudes, motives, personality traits, ranging from creativity to social capabilities. And we're calling that capabilities rather than competence. Capabilities is a much wider term, and I think it implies the environment and the technologies that are available. Look, there's no point in us training all these trainers to say you should know all about AI and using AI if they don't have the environment and the encouragement to be able to use AI. And that's that wider view of capability. I think that wider view of capability also implies that the scaling of some of our models from beginner to expert may need to be relooked at in the realm of those wider competence structures. So competence, social structures, technological tools, and the overarching environment in which they operate. Some of you may recognize that this is actually very similar to activity theory. Activity theory, in fact, was based on work by Leontev in the 1920s or 30s, I think, Russian psychologist. I think we probably need to readdress some of this research and literature to understand a little of what is going on in what Ilka Tuomi has called the post-Castell world, which is an interesting idea. Then the other big issue, I think, I'm just checking my time, I've taken 10 minutes. The big issue is learner agency, ownership and control, and support for metacognition. We have to give agency to learners. We have to give agency to teachers and trainers. We have to give the opportunity for people to support metacognition for understanding AI and how AI integrates into our changing world of work and into our changing world of education. And I think that learners have to be involved, and teachers obviously have to be involved in the development of AI tools. I think that's a critical move, that they are totally involved all the way through, because the nature of knowing is changing. And that issue of the development of human agency might well be the fundamental objective in education in this emerging world. So it's not just the computer, right? It's not just the AI doing things to us. We have to teach people how to shape the use of the AI in different vocational areas and in their education and their learning. And that's a fundamental task for vocational education and training and adult education. I can't actually see my slide here. Never mind. Anyway, whatever it says on that slide, I think is a good idea, because I thought it when I wrote it. But explainability and AI literacy are two big issues. So I'm expecting the whole area of AI literacy, and that means AI literacy includes the ability to select different AIs, select different AI tools, select AI tools within the vocational area in which you are working or learning. And secondly, the explainability of those AI tools and those AI resorts. And so far, the explainability, nearly most of the AIs are a black box, and we have to move beyond that black box to ensure that AI in education is explainable. Access and equity. Right, I'm going to talk about ethics now, but I prefer not to talk about the ethics of AI, but of the ethics of vocational education and training, and the ethics of us using tools within vocational education and training. Access to AI should be shaped by human interaction, and this is a huge role for adult education. It's everybody's going to need to know this. This is, I don't know in your countries, but I remember in the UK, the BBC used to run courses in closed shops, in shops which were empty, to make sure everybody had the chance to learn how to use a computer. And it's as important that everybody has a chance to learn what AI is. And noting that Finland now has a MOOC running for, I don't know, all over the place, on AI in society for adults to follow. We need to build on that effort and expand adult education. And don't forget, once more, adult education has a huge opportunity here to use AI to produce courses within the community and link. But of course, that means everybody has access to AI, and that's a huge problem for me. AI isn't cheap. If you want to use GPT-4, you've got €20 a month for that. People need computers, and as we found out during the COVID crisis, not everybody does have easy access to computers. So that access to AI, but access to vocational education and training are key issues to me of the whole ethics of this. It's that access is critical. And then I think we've got a big question about how do we design and constrain social generative AI for education. What we can't afford to do is to rely on Google, to rely on OpenAI, to rely on the 4 or 5 Amazon, the 4 or 5 big companies who are producing the large language models and generative AI for people. We need to start developing AI socially generative, social because learning is social, socially generative AI for education with the constraints on the models which are needed. That's a problem because at the moment it's extremely expensive to produce it, and at the moment it uses huge amounts of power and water. But we have to start working on that now to actually see the importance of AI in education and to develop it. Thank you for this. Thank you for listening to me, but thank you also to Helen Beetham, Ilka Tuomi, Linda Castaneda, and Orang Sangasu Chatterjee, who are 4 people I've done in-depth interviews with as part of the AI Pioneers projects. The transcripts or the edited transcripts for the interviews with all 4 of those are on the AI Pioneers website. And there will be also, there will be broadcast recordings of this stuff available by the end of the week. And then thank you to UNESCO Univoc for the pictures, which I loved and I continue to love. Here's all the reference points from it. I dare say you can take a quick shot of it now, or you can get the slides afterwards. And yes, I've taken exactly 15 minutes. Amazing. Okay, I'm going to hand over now to Anna, who is going to tell you about the Pioneers Network. I've got to stop sharing, or she can't.
Yeah, please.
Have I stopped sharing?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Okay. Hello, everyone. It's very tough to make a presentation after this brilliant presentation from Graham. Thank you, Graham, for this overview and very needed state of play for also the project. So I will present you today the AI Pioneers Reference Network. That is one product of our project. And first of all, let's speak about pioneers. So pioneers are people that are making something that is new, and they are innovating, creating, explaining, making new things happen. So I can bring you here some examples of pioneers, like the first women that make films, or the people that set up on the moon. And we also are, in our own way, the pioneers, and the project is the Pioneers for Artificial Intelligence in Education and Training, focus on the issue of adult education and VET, vocational education and training. So this is the setting for our pioneers view. So after the explanations from Graham, I would like to focus on the use of the way we can use AI. And so we can use it for learning, for teaching, and for making different policies. And in a way, it's very important to underline that we should, as Graham also focus, we should learn how to use AI to produce and to socialize and to make this literacy of AI. For teachers and trainers, and also for students. So teachers can adapt their learning content, they can make new ways of assessment, and they can improve guidance for learners. So this is the main activities a teacher and the trainer should adapt to, and this will be groundbreaking for all the education and training sector. So all the social and the linking from theoretical and practical is the focus of vocational education and training and adult education, and this focus will bring new and different ways of learning. And as we all know, students and teachers are all more and more keen on use of technologies, and these AI technologies should be learned, should be appropriated in the hands of people so that can improve their use. The project has this aim of creating this reference network and to create different teaching and training needs, and to develop new curriculum, new ways of talking about AI. The added value is this network that we are establishing, and of course speaking about this network that is European network, we would like to invite all the people that are in this room that are also involved in other continents to bring their knowledge within our Pioneers network. So what is our European reference network of AI pioneers? What we want is to have and share with teachers and trainers, educational planners, stakeholders, and policymakers in Europe, European countries, in the use of AI and in education and training, to support members of the network with knowledge and resources, with courses, with different use cases, literature, and all we can put in together just to have these pioneers working well, so sharing and socializing within AI information and literacy, to create an environment for sharing of best practice, experience, know-how about the use of AI, to develop a community of practice in the use of AI in education and training, and to develop different community of practice in the different countries of Europe. So we invite you to create this community of practice in your own countries as well. What are the main questions? And the questions are most likely to be around the things that Graham spoke before, like the learning agency and the human agency of AI agents. So some of our questions for the network is the framework conditions that will enable a long-term development of these pioneers use regarding the use of artificial intelligence, and to what extent is AI already being applied in adult and vocational education in different countries in Europe. We want to know. We have already made a survey, and probably during the 3 years of the project we will continue to do these surveys and to catch up with this experience from the ground. What are the implications of AI applications for data protection, ethics, and European values? So are some of the questions, and also one very important is to create a competencies network or a capabilities network, capabilities or competences information. So let's go to the ground and see what is a pioneer. We are using for pioneer here the term from DigComp Edu, and in a project we want to have AI DigComp Edu extension. So pioneers are people that are questioning the adequacy of contemporary digital and pedagogical practices. They are leaders. They are people that experiment innovative and complex digital technologies, and or they develop novel pedagogical approaches. So some of the pictures that Graham showed are exactly what we are looking for, people that are experimenting with new things using the social network and the environment of vocational education and training to create new and AI applications. So Pioneers are a unique and rare species. They lead innovation and they are a role model for younger teachers. So this is our focus when we speak about pioneers, and we want to gather in this network pioneers, AI pioneers, people that are experimenting new things. The reference network, it's something that we'll work on at least from these 3 years, and we will use an infrastructure based on Mastodon to share and develop our network and our sharing of content. So pretty soon, until the end of the year, we will make this Mastodon network available for all that want to participate with us in this development. And we will also include these COPs, national COPs, in connection always to the international community of practice. So we will have language based, for instance, a Portuguese COP or a Spanish COP, and then a German COP, and then articulated with the international COP that is the network itself. So we invite you all to participate in this network. If you are a pioneer, please contact us. You have here, we will develop webinars, consultation seminars with some experts. We will organize events, and we are organizing different events. So you have here also the contact for if you want to participate in the network, please contact us. This is the project website with the contact us part and the QR code for the project. So concerning the national COPs, if you want to be a reference point in your country, you should look at DigComp community of practice, set up the community, peer work and collaboration ideas, demonstrators, so you will be able to gather all these kind of elements to be able to participate in the international COP. It's not a very structured thing by now, but it will be in the future, I'm sure. So we also appoint here the competencies framework from UNESCO that is already a step beyond, and we are, of course, aligned with all the UNESCO activities in this concern. So please join the network, and we are open to have the members. Just to show you also from the project, this forward-looking project, Erasmus project, we have partners from Germany, ITB and Bremen University, Active Citizenship Partnership from Greece, Pontideschi from Spain, Graham, University degli Studi di Verona, Tecminio, it's my organization, Center for Social Innovation in Cyprus, Eden, the network, the reference network on digital learning in Europe, and University del País Vasco in Spain, CNOS, FAB from Italy. This is a network of the Salesian training professionals, and BBB, this is the German teachers network. So this is our partnership. Please join us in the Pioneers, AI Pioneers project, and be part of this network that we want to be inclusive and to have as much as possible connections with other projects. If you are leading other projects connected to AI developments in different levels of education, please contact us also. You have here the email for contacting us if you have a project, and if you have here the contact us for the database of pioneers. So if you feel like you are a pioneer, please join, and we are waiting for you. So this is all from me. Graham, pass to you.
Thank you very much, Anna. And we'll move on because I am very keen we get some opportunities for some discussion at the end. So I'm going to move on very quickly to Angela, who's going to tell us all about competencies for education and training.
Hello, I'm going to try. Let's find a screen to share with you. Here we go. Okay, so hi, I'm Angela Corradog. I work with Graham at Pontedysky and I'm a member of the AI Pioneers project team. One of the strands of this project is to look at the skills and competencies required by teachers, but more specifically vocational educators and trainers for the use of AI and the teaching of AI. So to do that, we carried out a survey. Oh, there should be a picture here. Okay. So my pictures can't be displayed, although I can see them in the slide here. I'm not quite sure what's going on there, but what you should be able to see, that'll be the alternative text, is a copy of the front of the digital competence framework, the Digicomp Edu digital competence framework for educators. If you are familiar with this, wonderful, it's a fantastic document. If you're not familiar, it is the framework made by the European Commission. And we are using this, we are using this as the basis for, so I'm just wondering if there's another way I can display this so that you can actually see the picture. Okay, so we are using Digicomp Edu as a basis for looking at the skills that are required by trainers. So there are 22 competencies outlined by Digicomp Edu across 6 areas, which I currently can't see, so I hope you already know them. Oh dear. Right, how can I make this bigger? There we go. Right, I'm going to stop share for a moment because I can't actually see anything that's in my presentation. What's going on? The tech has failed me massively. Can I see them if I don't share it? Okay, so without sharing my screen, because there's nothing you can see on it anyway, I've been told here, please click on the bottom right to make it full screen. No, if I make it full screen, it is deleting the pictures and just showing X's. So I can't see what I'm presenting to you if I make it full screen. It's just a little X saying this picture can't be displayed, which didn't happen when I tried it out in the practice earlier. So I don't quite know what's going on. Yeah, I could download it as a PDF. So let's try. No, it's not working. Okay, so from previous projects and from this project, we've identified that there are 2 key challenges for trainers, and that's using AI in education and then teaching about AI. So we've got the resource development, using AI for teaching, using AI for assessment, using AI to empower learners, versus how you actually teach your learners about the fundamentals of AI, how you teach AI literacy, data literacy, how you teach the ethics of AI, how you teach people to embed AI into their workplaces and vocational contexts. So we ran a survey using, it was a Google form, and we've also got input from the interviews that Graham did. We ran the survey between July and September this year. There were 314 responses from across 25 EU countries. And then we had another 45 responses, which were from outside of the EU. Most of those respondents were people aged 30 to 49 who worked in higher education, and then same age group who worked in vocational and adult education. So we sent it out to teachers, trainers, educators, vet stakeholders, anybody who might have an interest, let it open to everybody, and this is what we got back. So main findings, and I have used AI generated pictures because they made me laugh. These are done by Crayon. So this is an AI French classroom, apparently. So that's what AI French people look like when they're studying in an AI classroom, according to the AI. Okay, so the main findings. Over 60% of the educators have participated in ICT training in the past 2 years, which is more than we've had in previous surveys and previous projects. So there is a drive towards digital pedagogy. And a significant number of people who responded said that they were already using AI tools in their educational practices. So that also means that they are able to recognize that they're using AI tools. I wonder if there's actually more than that, because there are people that don't realize that what they're using is AI or has AI in it. Institutional adoption, there was still a lack of formal AI policies, so this is definitely an area for development. Okay, most participants think that AI can enhance educational practice. So there's a general consensus that AI can foster developing educational resources. It can improve teaching and learning, it can improve assessment or help assessment, and it can help empowering learners. So that's a generally positive perception, but I think what was identified was that the tools being used are mostly ChatGPT. So there's still a bit of a mismatch there between what they think, what trainers are thinking AI can be used for and what they're actually using. So the challenges identified were that there was a lack of skills amongst teachers and training, a lack of knowledge amongst teachers and trainers. And so that is the biggest hurdle in adopting AI, is that lack of skills and knowledge. They're also concerned around the ethics, ethical considerations, around privacy, around data use, and around the potential for AI to dehumanize education. So that's still scary. Yeah, the sort of the scariness perceived around AI and job losses and taking the humans out of the equation. And then skills for the future that came up, educators emphasizing that critical thinking is a key skill, problem solving, computational thinking, and they're all pivotal for integrating AI into teaching practices, both amongst the students, learners, and amongst the educators themselves. And additional insights, this picture is supposedly an AI enthusiast who is enthusiastic about learning more about AI. So we left a section at the end of the survey open for people to give feedback, and the highlights there were the importance of continuous learning, the importance of research, and the importance of a deeper understanding of the capabilities and implications of AI. So the conclusions from the survey results is that there's a promising potential of AI in reshaping educational paradigms. So educators recognize the benefits. They also emphasize the importance of ethical considerations, of skills development, and of a nuanced understanding of AI. So the next steps should have been that we take this information from the survey, and we were going to create a supplement to go with the Digicom Edu framework. But UNESCO have kind of gone ahead of us already. So instead of creating our own supplement, I think we're going to work with UNESCO, give them our findings, and give you one good document rather than lots of separate ones to have to work with. Okay, but you can find out lots more from our website. That's the QR code from the website, and it's also linked in the chat. And I've definitely not gone over time because most of my slides didn't work. So I think I can hand back to, am I going back to Graham or straight to Ludger?
Thanks very much, Angela. It's always a nightmare when you're in a presentation and your pictures don't appear. It's happened to us all, so don't worry. And now I'm going to hand over to Ludger and Ivan, who are going to tell us something about the practice of using AI in vocational education and training in German vocational schools, I think. Over to you.
Yes, thank you. I share the screen. Okay, yes, as not every pioneer contacts us, we also do active research for use cases and practice partners. In North Germany, we are still at the beginning, but we have found out some interesting courses and activities. Here, part of our list. The standard procedure is research via internet and literature, journal articles if available, and so on. Then we approach the schools. We contact the secretary to get a contact person and get in touch with the contact person to make a first Zoom call with preliminary information. Then we make an on-site visit, and if necessary, we make a following Zoom call again. Here we have an example. In the city of Wolfsburg has a vocational school with a AI-related course. The teacher is Mahnemann. We had a phone call with him already and an interview at the school. This is at the school. He presents the course with a pupil of him. It's an additional project course that is not part of the regular lessons. And now I hand over the word to my colleague, Dr. Deitmar. He will tell about more examples. I think the micro is muted.
Thank you. Micro is not on. Sorry. We were rather astonished to find at all schools who are experimenting and working on AI topics. I must say it's first of all in the technical side of that schools which are operating on that, because based on their background, which I already started several years ago to do courses on digital media and digital developments, including changes in the occupations. And these are these mechatronic industrial occupations, which is a broad, important, renewed curriculum design for a worker, which is dealing with IT-related and practical mechanical elements. And this is a hybrid construction called mechatronic, which you also find, I think, I'm very sure, in other European countries. Yes, and we were looking very much at the developments in Low Saxony, and there the State Ministry of Education hosting several programs. The example I just want to say in this very short time we have here is to focus on a project running at the vocational school in Osnabrück in North Germany, where students and apprentices who do a 3-year apprenticeship work on virtual reality glasses to program robots. And these robots are not robots which you find in a box, so to say, as maybe in former time. They are all collaborative robots which can be freely, let's say, programmed to do certain things which might be relevant for their industrial practice. And please move on, Ivan. The next slide, please. Yes, and you see here in this short diagram or how these teachers and the students, apprentices work together, and what the process is of arranging a new, let's say, AI-related course in the context And I think already Ray mentioned that where we already have a curriculum which is totally, let's say, overloaded with stuff, to find space to do new things. No, but go back, please. Let's keep that. And that means, first of all, you need two things. You have to prepare, let's say, AI-related work and learning tasks as a basis. And secondly, you have to arrange and learning environment, which I call here an AI laboratory. Then the case of Osnabrück was the case that they very much follow, let's say, so-called hackathons, arrange AI hackathons, which follow action-oriented learning methods. Something like, let's say, the students are self-active and in teams of 2 people or 3 people, and they have, let's say, prepared themselves. In the process, they undertake experiments with a collaborative robot, with a program with their glasses, in which I teach him to do certain things which he didn't do before. And for that, then use these glasses, which are doing a lot of, let's say, AI processes to implement them into the robot system. They do that in a team, and then they come to an event to do these things in the environment. For this, you will think this is so easy. No, it's not at all easy. It needs a lot of arrangement because the time is very narrow, and they have to arrange, let's say, hackathons, which and you have to arrange time zones in the close cooperation with the learning companies in the surrounding of these schools. And then one important element is that the results are presented at the end after the day in the gathering, where these things, let's say, get realized, and the students show what they have done. Then they test their stuff in themselves, they document the stuff they do, and they share it with an audience of teachers and trainers to get feedback, so to say. And when even move on, I think then the hackathon is an additional element to the curriculum, and several programs have been adopted for a project-based approach. Students use a problem-solving approach, and what we just see there is this problem-solving approach to, let's say, to get this learning task done by themselves under the support and of the teachers, and they use the knowledge which I have in the background from different sources, such as lectures pre-hand to these events, and they use as a second source work experience, which they do inside their, let's say, apprenticeship activities within the company. And when we go on, I think the arrangement which is supporting that is our so-called additional qualification measures, which are, let's say, taking place in 11 industrial occupations by the examination. This is a potential. This is by of the Industrial Chamber of Commerce. I think these are now 5 conditions which have been realized to establish these additional qualification measures, such as that hackathon day. They are forming on a complete vocational work task cycle, which includes things like to arrange this kind of process, the information about the work tasks, the planning and the preparation, the team forming, and undertaking the project plan, the control and test of the, let's say, work tasks they have undertaken, the assessment of these tasks, as well as the documentation and presentation. And please even continue. Yeah, the second half, the 2 elements are, let's say, high quality level of work and learning tasks to program a robot, what I told you before, is not simple, is not easy, and needs a lot of understanding what works in that situation. They are therefore not routine tasks in the traditional sense of a work task. They're new challenges for students and or apprentices. And there is relative freedom to the project results. So it can be also allow different alternative solution. And I think the notion of shaping was also given by Graham beforehand in his presentation about these theory of vocational learning we had in mind. The results of the project allow an assessment and reflection by students, apprentices, as well with the organizing teachers. Okay, I hand over now to Even for another example and the closing up presentation.
Yes, thank you. Here we have a last interesting example. In the city of Delmenhorst, a teacher contacted us who is creating teaching materials with ChatGPT and pictures for his worksheets with deep AI, and his time amount for one worksheet decreased from about 2 days to 2 hours. That was also a very interesting example, I think. Yes, and after we found use cases or people with use cases contacted us, we invite the schools or better the teachers to a consultation seminar where all the pioneers meet to present their use cases, exchange experiences and good practice examples. And at the end, we invite the people to join our network. Yes, and that would be our research procedure. Then I would give the word back to Graham.
No, I will add some element, one point, even
Yes.
when I can. What we have found out that around these 20 examples we found in the Northwest, and there are definitely another 50, 60 to come, is the networking, because all these, let's say, cases of change or innovative cases are relatively active on the local scene, but there is not an overarching regional dialogue about exchanging, let's say, what works well, where are difficulties, how do we overcome problems. This kind of dialogue between these practice partners is more or less still a bit of a weak element, and therefore I think our project, even in the national context, is very relevant to come along with that for the coming time and to strengthen the exchange and networking between the practice partners, more or less. Thank you.
Okay, thank you to both of you. So, and thank you to all the presenters for keeping on time. Absolutely amazing. It never happens.
We shorten our part.
But we are on time. And that means we've got some time for questions and comments from participants. Anybody got something? I think you can even use your microphones if you want to.
Graham, you have a question in the chat, I believe, from Dirk Walker about knowledge information.
I know, it's a hard question. I've been thinking about it. Right, first of all, let's go back to that statement, that artificial intelligence is by definition not real. Let's just say that the word artificial intelligence isn't particularly the best term for describing the technologies which have been developed over the period since 1951, I think, and that most scientists in the field wish it wasn't called artificial intelligence. So, of course, it's not, by definition, not real. The data which generative AI runs on is our data. Now, of course, that's controversial. They're scraping it off the internet and they're not asking us. So that's something to think about. But that is real. And in my view, it goes beyond information. Google provides information. What the neural networks are doing are taking vast quantities of data and providing an analysis of that data, despite working somewhat like scholastic parrots, as I think the phrase is, in reproducing words. So in my view, it is probably knowledge, as is wisdom. But if the AI finds items of wisdom which have been contributed by humans, then it could be wisdom. But I don't think you can say AI in itself is wisdom. Now, I mean, I'm very interested. I live in Alicante in Spain, and I'm seeing on the walls of buildings all kinds of posters advertising courses in philosophy. And I suspect there's a boom in philosophy taking place for adults, especially, just because of the issues that AI is raising in terms of information, knowledge, wisdom, etc. Anyone else?
So I think it's very interesting the way the question was raised, but in a classical sense, if you speak about data, knowledge, intelligence, and wisdom, you are speaking of interpreting data that are available in mass databases that you can then manage this information and transform it in a way in a decision based on data. And when we are speaking about artificial intelligence, we can probably connect these dots in a way, but we are speaking of creation, intelligence, artificial intelligence that is creating things, new things, and that is probably a difference. I don't know. I'm just thinking aloud. A difference between the intelligence that we can get from data and the intelligence that we can bring from this new artificial tools, let's say. I don't know if I clarify or I made some kind of another view on it, but that's my possible contribution on this. I think it's very, very interesting the way the question is put, and I'm not sure I have an answer.
May I pose a question, Graham,
Yes,
to you?
of course.
Regarding these keywords, I think we may take the position of talking about artificial intelligence in education, so as a tool that would help to develop knowledge, to develop skills, and also our to change and modify and extend our values and responsibilities about using it in education from the point of view of competence. I think we talk a lot about the potential of the artificial intelligence and see now how and what kind of practices AI pioneers and other research might identify in education. I like very much the critical approach of Wayne Holmes' publication of AI in education, and also his latest summary report about unintended outcomes of the application of AI in education that you can find in teachers' professional networks, also disseminated in the European Digital Education Hub and many other resources. What about the challenges and the critical questioning from your project? Did you identify, did you talk with the teachers about these unintended consequences, or maybe the risk, maybe some concerns that teachers and you as project consortium shared among yourselves? Could you mention some of these that you would like to see in research as further steps, so to say?
From my point of view, I mean, there are obvious issues, aren't there? There's pretty obvious issues in that AI lies, yes? And if it comes out with absolute nonsense, if it hasn't got any proper information there, it will imagine, it will hallucinate, as the engineers call it, a lie other people might say. But there's also very serious issues. And that means that people have to be critical. That means that learners have to learn to be critical. It's not Google search. Then there's obvious problems in bias, because if you build a tool based on scraping the web, then it's going to reflect the bias which is within society. And I think that's really interesting. That as an issue for education is interesting, that students realize where the bias comes from and can discuss that bias in society and think about it. For me, the biggest issue still is that we have a small number of largely American big companies which are dominating this, and there is a danger of a takeover. In the past, we've been relatively lucky in educational technology, actually, in having some pretty excellent software, which we've almost taken for granted, being produced for education and at a relatively cheap price. So at the moment, we need generative AI models for education, but where's the resources for that coming from? So that's the biggest ethical issue, I think, and one which unfortunately isn't being discussed widely. Does anyone want to talk about how there's some great questions coming out here? Anyone want to pick, any of my other panelists here want to pick up one of the questions? Luca.
Yeah, which question is it? Sorry.
Well, there's loads there. Does the panel have any thoughts on how AI handles and incorporates tacit knowledge? That's a tricky one. What would be the experts? I don't know if we're experts, but we're trying to be experts. What would be the experts' 3 key recommendations for lifelong learning to successfully adapt to the challenges of artificial intelligence?
Yes.
What would be, Luca, what would be your 3 key recommendations? Or any of the other panel?
I think very important is the open-mindedness of the teacher. The key role are the teachers and trainers, more or less, in that process, at least those ones who launching these things. The problem is that they're already overloaded with a lot of other work, and it's very narrow. We are missing teachers in Germany, so to say, and it's rather narrow. So to find the time is a critical thing, and they need a local network. Without a local network and without resources, they can do and can discuss theoretically about AI and do little lectures, but this is not the matter of the fact. I have to change the occupation and the curriculum and the events which taking place in the curriculum and all that. And I have to do an exam, and then I have to cooperate with local partners, such as, for example, companies who are also already interested to launch in certain fields of automation, and product automation, KI tools, who on that strength. This is a starting process, and this is rather at a very, very early beginning, I would say. It's not yet complete, and the teachers are the same as you are astonished. They're also very astonished about what goes on, that, for example, traditionally they were programming with Python and these things. Now they have chatbot for that. And so on. So they have to do exactly that. The key is this reflexive capacity and let's say the collaborative learning agency with other partners, and including the school. And for example, in Osnabrück, there are at least 6-10 teachers working in that center. They have a social room where they're going to coffee and talk and so on. It's an open space they have created there. When you would see it, you would be astonished that it looks not really like a school. I don't know, but it's something different. It's a learning factory in a sense. Yeah, in the learning factory where you work on certain things of automation, and you're using KI tools in that context. And this is what you find when you go to these teachers, and they are really themselves in a massive challenging learn process. And I must say, we found quite a sum of teachers who are willing to follow this path. Still, there's a lot of rest of teachers who are not interested and keep on with their traditional stuff and teaching stuff. So this is at least my experience. Now, I only can talk of my experience, but maybe someone has other experiences of that kind. But this is the point. We found they are very motivated to work on that field. And therefore it's difficult to say what comes out of that in 2-3 years, but it's in the process.
Just picking up on some of the earlier comments. Thanks for all the great stuff coming in the chat here. But yes, of course, someone pointed out that it's an assumption that it's going to be very, very different in different occupational areas. And yes, it is. That's one of the big challenges of this. It's affecting every occupational area, but differently. You can't say just because it's done in one, it's done in another. Someone asked about art education. Now, that's an interesting one. I'm not an expert in art education, but one of the findings we initially had from my colleagues from the University of the Basque Country, when we were looking at in Spain at the vocational schools there, was that certainly art and design education has been one of the most impacted and the fastest to change, just because if you're going to work as a designer, as a graphic designer, if you're going to work in marketing, that is changing very fast, and they're having to change the curriculum very fast to catch up with that. What about the quality of teaching and learning material? The fact that the teachers managed to skim down prep time from 2 days to 2 hours doesn't necessarily mean that the quality is worse if you're using AI, but it raises the same question as we've always had of how we judge the quality of learning materials. It's possible we will have more learning materials in the future. Then there's a great question from Oliver Nam, who is asked saying, if I may add a point to question risks, we need to identify competencies which we don't want to lose to AI. I'm not sure that his example is the key one for me about being able to write a good text, but certainly I agree with this in terms of agency. That's the issue of agency to me. That knowledge can be a partnership, or AI is a tool for people to use and for people to shape in work and in learning and in knowledge, but that we should not be losing human ideas. And that's the point of the agency there. But I welcome anyone else's ideas on this. So we need to use AI as a tool, but preserve spaces to learn free from it or with it. But I totally agree with you. Any more? Yes, Seba Kemal says, I assume the key to work with generative AI is to give it the right prompt and communicate with it. It's a bit stranger than that because it depends on what AI. Different AIs take their prompts in different ways. There's also it's also not a knowledge of how any of the AIs work. There's an expert from the University of Washington or the University of New York, I can't remember, I should know his name. Anyway, one of the well-known experts on this, who was on prompting, has done a work prompting, saying add an emotional part at the end of your prompt. Tell the AI how important it is for you as your part of your career to get this good. And that appears to improve the outputs, but nobody knows why. Putting an emotional prompt there improves the output. I'm going to try it. I'm going to try it and see if that works. Amazing. But it's not a mad person. This is one of the leading researchers is saying it's strange, but it works. And different AI is a bit different. If you've not, I would recommend you to have a talk with Pi. Pi is quite a lot of fun. Pi's been trained with quite a lot of data from education and philosophy, and considers itself to be a bit of an intellectual AI, and it's great fun to talk to. Yeah. Any more, please follow project updates on LinkedIn, says Deirdre, and many thanks to Deirdre for organizing this session, incidentally. But yeah, LinkedIn is, strangely, is the place where you appear to go now for social networking, talking about AI and AI in ed. From being the most boring social network ever invented, it's the place to go at the moment. Any more questions or comments? Have I missed anything people say? Seems about the survey in Utrecht University. We picked up almost. There will be a recording available, and please get in touch. And also, if I can say, the blog on the blog on the AI site is very open. It's not just for me or for project members to blog in, project partners to blog in. We would welcome contributions to our blog from anyone else. Yes. That seems to be about it, Arena.
Yes, I can see that. Well, actually, I think that your kickoff of this week only demonstrated the most important theme that needs very thorough discussions, going through the legacy established in open and distance learning, including competences, including curriculum design, ethics, and many, many other questions. And on behalf of Eden Digital Learning Europe, I would like to thank you all for sharing your research, your practice in the field. And would like now, with a couple of slides that Carlos kindly agreed to share with the participants of this event, to ensure that further discussions are awaiting on this topic and other topics in Eden events, including events dedicated for leadership, because leaders in education organizations, in policymaking, in research need to discuss these themes along with practitioners, and also sometimes separately among themselves as leaders. One of these events is scheduled in Barcelona on November 29, December the 1st by Eden Digital Learning Europe. You may find more information and still register for it. The same urgent topic and other topics in open and distance learning will continue in Eden annual events. The next conference takes place in Graz in Austria on June 16-18. It will be accompanied by PhD symposium, and we expect to have PhD students who address AI and other topics in education as well. So please save the date and visit Graz, wonderful Graz in June. And then I would also like to mention to you that Eden is an active consortium partner in European Digital Education Hub. We are responsible for knowledge building activities. But in the hub, you may find a dedicated theme on artificial intelligence, where a community of practice shares resources among themselves. I believe many of you are already there. Otherwise, I invite you to join and take advantage of free mentorship clinics. For example, you may register for absolutely free mentorship on AI or on clinics, that some challenges that are raised within your organization, All projects like AI pioneers are invited to knowledge building activities to further build knowledge on the basis of information available so that we can develop our educational practices. There is also some corner for EdTech, like accelerator and design thinking workshops, also digital education hackathons that are run by the European Commission. So join the hub. And as we are responsible for knowledge building activities, I would like to announce two forthcoming ones. The first will be happening on November 14th. It is on how to empower teachers with critical vision on digital competencies. And the second one, addressed still, is on evidence-based approaches to technology use in early childhood education. That will be led by Natalia Kusirkova from University of Stavanger in the UK, and you see great speakers representing Swedish Ministry of Education, University of Oxford, Center of Literacy Malta, and Graphogame from Tech Company. So stay with us, but of course, before inviting you to next event on European Open and Digital Learning Week, I would like to thank very much AI Pioneer team for your great presentations, for taking and pioneering the way through with the artificial intelligence. It is very challenging. It came to each of us, and for all of us, with not only possibilities and the potential, but also with the challenges that we, I think, need our networks to discuss these challenges in order to build our experience, our practices. And I believe they will be based on research and evidence. So thank you very much for being with us today. I see many people leaving, but we will have the record that will be available on EDEN website of European Distance Learning Week and also YouTube channel. Thank you.